What you're about to hear will change everything. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is honest. Truth rarely arrives shouting, it enters quietly and rearranges your inner world. You have been listening for noise, while meaning waited in silence. You searched for signs, while clarity lived inside patience. Change does not begin with answers. It begins with courage, the courage to sit with discomfort, without running back to old habits. Everything you feared losing was never meant to stay forever. Some things expire. The moment you outgrow them, you confuse attachment with destiny. But destiny never chains you, it invites you forward, even when the path feels unfamiliar. What you're about to hear is not meant to please you, it is meant to free you. From stories you repeat to survive, you learned to endure. Before you learned to choose, you learned to adjust. Before you learned to deserve, strength was born in your silence. But growth demands your voice, not to shout, but to stand firm. You kept waiting for permission from people who were also lost. You asked for validation from those still questioning themselves. Everything changes when you stop asking and start deciding from a place of self respect. Pain taught you awareness, awareness taught you boundaries, boundaries taught you peace, and peace taught you power. You were never weak, you were unprotected. You gave without limits. To those without capacity, what you're about to hear is that love without balance becomes sacrifice without reward, and loyalty without direction. You don't need to be colder, you need to be clearer. Warmth with wisdom lasts longer than blind devotion. Some people only love you when you are convenient. When you grow, they call it distance. But distance is not abandonment. Sometimes it is elevation. Not everyone can breathe. At your new height, you mistook familiarity for safety. But safety is built, not remembered, not hoped for. What you're about to hear is that healing is not linear. Some days you feel strong, some days you remember everything. Both days count. Both days teach. Progress is not perfection, it is persistence. You survived what you never imagined. So don't underestimate what you can build now that you are aware. Silence became your language because explaining exhausted you, but now silence is choice, not fear. You no longer need to prove what is visible in your growth. You no longer chase understanding, you move with intention. What you're about to hear is that time reveals everything, not because time speaks, but because masks slip, people show their truth. When you stop reacting, when you stop fixing, when you stop saving, you are not meant to rescue everyone. Some battles are not yours. Some lessons are personal. Some journeys are solo. Your empathy is powerful, but without boundaries, it becomes self betrayal, disguised as kindness. What you're about to hear is that choosing yourself is not selfish, it is survival with dignity. You are allowed to outgrow roles that once kept you alive. You are allowed to rest without guilt. Your worth does not decrease because someone failed to see it. Vision is personal, value is not negotiable. You stopped begging for crumbs when you realized you deserve a seat, not leftovers. What you're about to hear is that peace is expensive. It costs old connections, old reactions, old versions of you. But the price is fair because chaos was draining and you were tired of healing what hurt you. You no longer explain your pain to be believed. You acknowledge it to be released. Strength now looks like calm, not reaction, like patience, not endurance. What you're about to hear is that you are becoming someone who no longer settles for almost, for maybe, for someday. You choose clarity over confusion, consistency over intensity, truth over comfort, growth over approval. And this is why everything changes, not overnight, but permanently, because awareness doesn't fade, nothing truly changes all at once. Change settles slowly, like dust after a storm, unnoticed until clarity appears. You wake up one day and realize something feels lighter, not because life softened, but because you stopped carrying what wasn't yours. Growth doesn't announce itself, it shows up as silence, where chaos once lived, as calm where panic ruled. You no longer react immediately. You pause, not from fear, but from awareness. Awareness teaches you restraint. Restraint teaches you power. Power teaches you choice. And choice changes outcomes. You begin to see patterns clearly, not just in others, but within yourself. And that is where transformation begins. You notice how much energy was spent explaining your pain to people committed to misunderstanding you. Now you conserve that energy, you invest it inward, you build instead of defend, you move instead of convince. There was a time when being needed felt like love, when exhaustion felt like loyalty, when silence felt like abandonment. Now you understand being needed is not being valued, exhaustion is not devotion, and silence can be sacred. You stop filling every gap. You stop answering every call. You stop rescue